The morning started like any other on New Haven Colony. The twin suns cast their warm light across the farming sectors where families worked the fields. Children played in the schoolyards while their parents operated the mining equipment that kept the colony profitable. It was a peaceful world on the outer edge of known space, far from the politics and wars that sometimes troubled the inner systems. Marcus. Reed stood in his office looking out at the bustling settlement. As colony administrator, he took pride in what they had built here. 5,000 people called New Haven home. They grew food, mined rare minerals, and traded with passing ships. Life was good. That changed when the sensors started screaming. Captain Elena Torres burst into his office without knocking. Her face was pale and her hands shook as she handed him a datapad. "Sir, we have a problem. A big one." Marcus read the scanner reports with growing horror. Ships were dropping out of hyperspace at the edge of the system. Not trader vessels or passenger liners. These were warships. Dozens of them. And they were heading straight for New Haven. "Do we know who they are?" Marcus asked, though he feared the answer. "Vex Empire," Elena said. The words hit him like a physical blow. Everyone in this part of space knew about the Vex. They were insectoid creatures that spread across planets like a plague. They conquered worlds not for resources or territory, but simply because they could. Entire civilizations had vanished. When the Vex decided to expand, "How long do we have?" 6 hours until they reach orbit. Maybe 8 if we're lucky. Marcus felt his stomach drop. The colony had basic defensive systems, nothing more. They were farmers and miners, not soldiers. Against a Vex invasion fleet, they might as well throw rocks at the sky. "Send out a distress call on all frequencies," he ordered. "Every ship, every colony, every government in range. Someone has to help us." Lena nodded and ran back to the communications center. Marcus watched her go, then looked out his window. Again, children were still playing in the yards. Their parents worked in the fields. None of them knew that death was coming from the stars. The first responses to their distress call were not encouraging. The nearest Galactic Council fleet was 3 weeks away. The local defense forces were already engaged with pirate raids and other systems. Independent traders offered sympathy, but no help. One by one, every hope for rescue faded away. Called from the communication station. "I'm picking up Vex transmissions. They're not even trying to hide their approach. They want us to know they're coming." Marcus closed his eyes. That was typical Vex behavior. They enjoyed spreading fear before the actual killing started. It made their victims easier to handle when the invasion began. "Order the evacuation," he said. "Get everyone to the underground shelters. Seal the blast doors. Maybe some of us can survive until help arrives." The evacuation proceeded with desperate efficiency. Families grabbed what they could carry and rushed to the reinforced bunkers beneath the colony. These shelters were designed for meteor strikes and solar storms, not military assault. But they were the only protection available. Elena's security forces took up positions around the colony. They had hunting rifles, mining explosives, and courage. It would not be enough, but they would try anyway. Marcus admired their bravery even as he mourned their coming deaths. The Vex fleet arrived exactly when predicted. Anything built by civilized species. They looked grown rather than constructed, with organic curves and surfaces that pulsed like living tissue. Because they were living tissue. The Vex bred their technology the same way they bred their warriors. The first landing pods began falling from the sky like burning rain. Each one carried dozens of Vex soldiers. They looked like giant insects walking upright, with forearms ending in razor claws and mandibles that could bite through steel. Their compound eyes glowed red in the dim light as they swarmed out of their pods. Elena's people fought bravely. They set up ambushes in the narrow streets between buildings. They used mining charges to collapse structures on advancing Vex troops. For a brief moment, Marcus dared to hope they might hold out. Then the Vex brought in their war forms. These creatures were 3 times the size of normal soldiers, with armored carapaces that shrugged off rifle fire. They tore through defensive positions like paper. Elena's brave security forces fell back, then fell back again, until there was nowhere left to retreat. "Get everyone deeper into the shelters," Elena radioed from her position near the colony's edge. "We can't hold them much longer." Marcus helped the last families into the underground areas. He could hear the battle raging above. Weapons fire mixed with the clicking sounds that Vex made when they communicated. Sometimes he heard human screams in the deepest part of the shelter. Marcus found their communications equipment still working. He had one last desperate idea. During his years as a trader, before becoming administrator, he had heard stories, whispers in the darker corners of space stations. Tales of a mysterious species that lived somewhere beyond the known galaxy. They were called humans. The stories about them varied wildly. Some said they were peaceful explorers. Others claimed they were warriors from a death world that would kill any normal species in minutes. Most people dismissed the tales as spacer folklore, but Marcus had once met a smuggler who swore he had seen their ships. The smuggler had given him coordinates, a location in deep space where messages might reach these mythical humans. Marcus had kept the information as a curiosity, never expecting to need it. Now, with his people dying above and extinction staring them in the face, Marcus opened a channel to those coordinates. He had no idea if anyone would receive the message, did not even know if humans were real, but they were his last hope. "It's his New Haven colony," he spoke into the transmitter. "We are under attack by the Vex Empire. Our defenses are failing. If anyone receives this message, please help us. We have women and children here, families who have done nothing wrong. If there is anyone out there who can hear this, we are begging for help. We have nowhere else to turn," he sent the message. On repeat, broadcasting it toward the mysterious coordinates while the sounds of battle grew closer. Alina and her people were being pushed back to the shelter entrances. Soon the Vex would break through the blast doors. Marcus looked around at the frightened faces of his people. Parents held their children close. The elderly sat quietly, accepting their fate. Everyone knew this was probably the end, but still, Marcus kept broadcasting his desperate plea into the darkness of space, hoping against hope that someone, somewhere, might answer their call for help. 3 days had passed since Marcus sent his desperate message into the void. 3 days of hiding in the underground shelters while the Vex tore apart everything above. The sounds of destruction echoed through the metal walls. Scraping claws, breaking glass, and the constant clicking of alien voices. Alina Torres checked her rifle for the 100th time. She had 40 rounds left. Around her, the remaining security forces cleaned their weapons and counted ammunition. They all knew it would not be enough. The Vex were patient hunters. They would break through the shelter doors eventually. "Any word from the outside?" asked Tom, one of her younger officers. His hands shook as he spoke. "Nothing good," Elena replied. "The Vex are setting up some kind of base in the main square. Looks like they plan to stay." Marcus sat near the communication console, still broadcasting his message on repeat. Most people thought he was wasting power, but he refused to give up. His wife Anna tried to get him to eat something, but he just shook his head. "Someone has to hear us," he muttered. "What?" "Someone has to come." Little Beth, only 6 years old, tugged on his sleeve. "Mr. Marcus, are the monsters going to find us?" Before he could answer, something impossible happened. The communication console erupted with incoming signals, not one message, but dozens, all coming from the same direction in space. "What is that?" Anna asked, staring at the displays. Marcus worked frantically at the controls. The signals were unlike anything in the Galactic database. They used frequencies that most species could not even detect. The encryption was so advanced that their computer could only decode fragments. Fleet command to all ships. Prepare for system entry. Marines to assault stations. This is not a drill. Target acquisition complete. Vex bioships identified. Unknown vessels approaching the system. Alina called from her scanner station. Multiple contacts dropping out of hyperspace. Above ground, the Vex had noticed too. Their clicking grew louder and more agitated. Something was happening that they did not expect. On the bridge of the UES Retribution, Captain Jake Morrison studied the tactical display. The Vex fleet hung in orbit around New Haven like vultures. 43 bioships of various sizes, all dripping with organic weapons and armor. Below on the planet, his sensors detected the heat signatures of thousands of Vex ground forces. Analysis? Complete, Captain, reported his tactical officer, Lieutenant Sam Park. Standard Vex invasion pattern. They've deployed warrior forms throughout the colony. The local population appears to be hiding in underground facilities. Jake nodded grimly. He had fought the Vex before, during the border conflicts near Proxima Station. They were brutal but predictable, relied on overwhelming numbers and fear tactics. Against civilian populations, these methods worked perfectly. Against the Earth Defense Force, they were about to learn a very different lesson. Signal the fleet, Jake ordered. All ships, Battle Formation Alpha, Marines, prepare. For planetary assault, this ends now. Human fleet moved into attack position with mechanical precision. 12 heavy cruisers, 8 destroyers, and 4 massive assault carriers. Their hulls were dark metal covered in weapon ports and armor plating. These ships were built for one purpose: war. The Vex bioships turned to face this new threat. They had encountered other species before. Usually the appearance of their fleet was enough to send enemies fleeing. These strange new vessels showed no signs of retreat. The first exchange of fire lit up space like a miniature sun. Vex organic weapons spat streams of corrosive plasma while their ships twisted and dodged with living grace. The human response was devastating. Railguns fired metal slugs at a significant fraction of light speed. Missile batteries launched waves of smart ordnance that tracked their targets with ruthless efficiency. Within minutes, 3 Vex bioships were burning wreckage. The aliens had never faced weapons this precise or this powerful. Their organic defenses evolved to resist energy weapons, provided little protection against kinetic projectiles moving at impossible speeds. On the planet's surface, the Vex ground commander felt vibrations through the hive mind network. The fleet was in trouble. These newcomers fought like nothing they had encountered before. There was no fear in their transmissions, no panic in their movements, just cold mechanical destruction. Colonel Lisa Hayes stood in the assault bay of the UES Normandy, addressing her Marines. 500 of Earth's finest soldiers, equipped with the best weapons and armor that human technology could provide. They had trained for this moment their entire careers. "Listen up," she called over the noise of the ship's engines. "Down there are 5,000 innocent people who called for help. The bugs thought they could pick on defenseless civilians. They were wrong. We are going to show these insects what happens when you threaten human beings." The Marines checked their equipment one final time. Pulse rifles, plasma grenades, powered armor that could stop most known weapons. Each soldier carried enough firepower to level a city block. Drop pods launching in 60 seconds, announced the ship's AI. Weather is clear. Gravity is 0.9. Standard temperature is within normal parameters for human operations. Lisa smiled grimly. The Vex had chosen to attack a world with conditions almost identical to Earth. They could not have picked a worse battlefield to face humanity. In the shelter below New Haven, Marcus watched his screens in amazement. The unknown fleet was destroying the Vex ships one by one. Whoever these people were, they fought with a skill and ferocity that defied belief. Sir Alina called excitedly. "I'm picking up landing craft, dozens of them, heading for the surface." First drop pods fell from the sky like meteors. Each one contained a squad of human Marines in full combat gear. They crashed into the colony grounds with tremendous force, their armored shells cracking open to disgorge the soldiers within. Sergeant Mike Chen was the first human to set foot on New Haven's soil. He emerged from his pod with his rifle ready, scanning for targets. Around him, his squad took up defensive positions while more pods landed nearby. Contact called Private Lisa Wong from her position near a ruined building, multiple bugs approaching from the east. I saw them too. A cluster of Vex warriors moving through the debris with their characteristic four-armed gait. Now they're red. Eyes gleamed with predatory hunger as they approached what they thought were more helpless prey. They were about to discover their mistake. Fire, Mike ordered. The Marine squad opened up with disciplined volleys. Their pulse rifles sent streams of superheated plasma into the Vex formation. The aliens tried to take cover, but human weapons were designed for warfare, not hunting frightened civilians. Within seconds, the Vex advance became a retreat. Then the retreat became a rout as more Marine squads landed and joined the fight. In orbit, the last Vex bioship exploded in a ball of flame. The human fleet had achieved complete space superiority in less than an hour. The real battle was just beginning. Sergeant Mike Chen moved through the ruined streets of New Haven with practiced efficiency. His squad followed behind him, their weapons ready and their movements coordinated. These were not the panicked actions of frightened civilians. These were professional soldiers doing what they had trained for. The Vex had never faced anything like it. "Movement ahead," whispered Private Lisa Wong from her position behind a overturned vehicle. "3 warriors, maybe 4. They're trying to flank us." Mike studied the tactical display on his helmet screen. The Vex were following their usual pattern, using their numbers to surround isolated targets. It worked well against farmers and miners. Against human Marines, it was a fatal mistake. "Tom, take your fire team left. Lisa, go right. I'll give them something to shoot at," Mike ordered. His soldiers moved without question. Disappearing into the rubble with silent steps, the Vex warriors crept forward, their compound eyes scanning for movement. They clicked softly to each other, coordinating their attack. These new arrivals looked different from the soft colonists they had been hunting. Their bodies were covered in some kind of artificial shell, and they moved with dangerous confidence. Mike stepped into view, deliberately exposing himself. The Vex warriors immediately focused on him, raising their bioweapons to fire. Streams of acid shot toward his position, but Mike was already moving. His powered armor absorbed the few drops that found their mark. The Vex had made their mistake. While they focused on Mike, Tom and Lisa's teams struck from both sides. Pulse rifle fire cut through the aliens with devastating effect. Within seconds, all 4 warriors were down. "Area secure," Mike reported to his company commander. Continuing advance to Grid 77, similar scenes played out across the colony. Human Marines moved in small teams, systematically clearing buildings and streets. The Vex tried to adapt, sending larger groups to overwhelm individual squads. The humans simply called in fire support from their orbiting ships. Colonel Lisa Hayes watched the battle from her command post near the landing zone. Holographic displays showed the positions of all her units as they pushed deeper into Vex-held territory. The aliens were retreating, but they were not broken yet. Colonel called Major Robert Kim from the intelligence station. "We've located the Vex command structure. It's a bioconstruct in the colony's central square. Looks like some kind of queen form." Lisa studied the images on her screen. The Vex queen form was massive, easily 3 times the size of a normal warrior. Its body pulsed with organic circuits that connected to smaller creatures around it. This was the brain of the invasion force. "Can we take it out with orbital bombardment?" she asked. "Negative," Robert replied. "Too close to civilian shelters. We'd risk collapsing their underground areas." Lisa nodded. She'd expected that answer. Human military doctrine was clear. Civilian casualties were unacceptable. They would have to do this the hard way. "Prep assault teams Charlie and Delta," she ordered. "We're going in on foot." Meanwhile, in the scientific section of the human fleet, Dr. Amanda Walsh studied the Vex specimens her teams had captured. She was a xenobiologist, trained to understand alien life forms. What she found in the Vex genetic structure both fascinated and horrified her. "They're not just social insects," she reported to Captain Morrison via secure link. "They're a true hive mind. Each individual is connected to the others through bioelectric signals. That's how they coordinate so well." "Is there a way to disrupt those signals?" Morrison asked. Amanda worked at her analysis station, running simulation after simulation. The Vex communication system operated on very specific frequencies. If those frequencies could be jammed or overloaded, the entire hive structure would collapse. I need to see their command form, she said finally. The queen creature. If I can analyze its signal patterns, I might be able to create an interference weapon. Back on the surface, Sergeant Mike Chen and his squad had reached the edge of the central square. Through his scope, he could see the massive Vex Queen form surrounded by dozens of warrior guards. The creature's organic antenna arrays pulsed with bioluminescent light as it coordinated the defense. "It's a big bug," commented Private Lisa Wong. "Copy that," Mike replied. "Command, this is Bravo Squad. We have eyes on the primary target. Requesting instructions." Colonel Hayes' voice crackled through the communication system. "Hold position, Bravo Squad. Science team needs to get close enough for analysis. Do not engage until ordered." Equipment. She set up her instruments behind the cover of a ruined building and began analyzing the queen forms. Bioelectric emissions. "Incredible," she whispered as data filled her screens. "The signal complexity is beyond anything we've encountered. But there's a pattern. A specific frequency that seems to be the carrier wave for all commands." She worked frantically, her fingers flying over the control panels. If she could isolate that frequency and reverse its polarity, she could turn the Vex's greatest strength into their greatest weakness. "Got it," she announced after 20 minutes of intense work. "I can create a sonic weapon that will disrupt their hive link, but I need to upload the frequency data to all our audio systems." Within minutes, every human weapon and communication device had been modified with Dr. Walsh's discovery. The Marines prepared for their final assault, knowing they now had a weapon that could shatter the alien coordination. "All teams, this is Command. Colonel Hayes, broadcast. New weapon systems are online. When you engage the target, activate your audio disruptors. This should break their ability to work together." Mike Chen checked his equipment one more time. His rifle now had a small sonic projector attached to its barrel. His squad was ready. "On my mark," he said. 3, 2, 1, mark. The human assault began from 3 directions at once. Pulse rifle fire lit up the square as Marines advanced on the Queen Form's position. The Vex warriors tried to respond with their usual coordinated defense. Then Dr. Walsh's sonic weapons activated. The effect was immediate and devastating. The harmonious clicking of Vex communication became a discordant shriek. Warriors stopped. In mid-motion, their connection to the hive mind severed. Some began attacking each other. Others simply stood motionless, unable to function without their mental link. The Queen Form itself writhed in apparent agony, its bioluminescent arrays flashing erratically. The creature that had directed the destruction of New Haven was now helpless, its control systems overloaded. Mike Chen and his Marines advanced steadily through the chaos. Isolated Vex warriors fell quickly to coordinated human fire. Without their hive mind, they were just large insects with sharp claws. "Target down," Mike reported as the last warrior fell. The Queen Form had collapsed, its massive body twitching feebly. "Square is secure. Across the colony." Similar reports came in from other units. The Vex invasion force was broken. Those aliens that still lived were fleeing toward their landing pods, desperate to escape the nightmare that the humans had brought them. Colonel Hayes allowed herself a small smile. The counterattack had succeeded beyond all expectations. New Haven was free. News of the Battle of New Haven spread across the galaxy faster than hyperspace itself. Emergency sessions were called in the Galactic Council chambers. Intelligence agencies scrambled to identify these mysterious newcomers who had destroyed an entire Vex invasion fleet in a single day. Ambassador David Chen stood before the assembled representatives of 47 species, his human features calm despite the chaos around him. The council chamber buzzed with nervous energy as delegates whispered among themselves in dozens of languages. "Honored representatives," David began, his voice carrying clearly through the translation systems. "I am David Chen, speaking for the United Earth's government. We received a distress call from New Haven Colony. We responded." The Galactic Council president, a tall blue-skinned Altarian named Vor, leaned forward in his chair. "You claim to represent Earth. We have no records of any species by that name. How did you acquire military technology advanced enough to defeat the Vex?" David smiled slightly. It was an expression that somehow made several delegates uncomfortable. "We have been watching your civilization for quite some time, President Vor. Learning your languages, studying your cultures, understanding your conflicts. We chose to remain hidden until now." "Hidden? Why?" demanded Senator Krell, a lizard-like Saurian whose species controlled 3 systems near Vex territory. "What reason could you have for concealing yourselves?" The human ambassador activated a holographic display that showed Earth floating in space. First glance, it looked like any other habitable world. Blue oceans, green continents, white clouds. Then the data began scrolling past. "Gravity. 1.0 Earth standard," David read aloud. "For comparison, most of your species evolved on worlds with gravity between 0.4 and 0.7 standard. Our world has surface pressure 50% higher than the galactic average. More uncomfortable shifting." From the delegates, worlds with high gravity were considered marginally habitable at best. "Atmospheric composition includes 21% oxygen," David continued. "This concentration is toxic to most known species and highly combustible. Surface temperatures range from -70 to +60 degrees Celsius. Weather patterns include hurricanes with wind speeds exceeding 200 kilometers per hour." A crystalline delegate named Shim spoke up, her voice tinkling like broken glass. "These conditions would kill most of us within hours. How do you survive?" "There. We evolved there," David said simply. "Every predator on our world competed with us for resources. Every storm system tried to destroy our settlements. Every disease and poison forced us to become stronger or die out. We did not choose to become what we are. Our world made us this way." He changed the display to show images of Earth's wildlife. A great white shark attacking its prey. A tiger hunting in tall grass. A volcano erupting with massive force. The delegates watched in horrified fascination. "These are just some of the threats our ancestors faced every day," David explained. "We learned to use tools to survive. Learned to work together. We learned to fight when fighting was necessary. We learned that strength should be used to protect those who cannot protect themselves." Meanwhile, in the Vex Empire's capital system, emergency meetings were taking place in the organic spires that housed their leadership. The Emperor form, a creature even larger than the Queen's, received reports from the few survivors of the New Haven disaster. The news was devastating. An entire invasion fleet destroyed. The sacred Queen form captured. Thousands of warriors killed by unknown weapons that turned their hive mind against itself. The Vex had never suffered such a complete defeat. War leader Scrix, a scarred veteran of dozens of successful invasions, presented his analysis to the Emperor. "These humans fight unlike any species we have encountered. They show no fear. They do not retreat when outnumbered. Their weapons are designed specifically for killing, not just defense." The Emperor form's massive head turned toward him. "What do you recommend? Immediate ceasefire? Open peace negotiations? Not engage these creatures again," Scrix replied. "Without hesitation, are apex predators from a death world. We are hunters of herbivores," other Vex leaders protested, clicking angrily about the Empire's reputation and their duty to expand. Scrix cut them off with a sharp gesture. "Look at the data," he said. "Their homeworld's gravity would crush us. Their atmosphere would burn our lungs. Our temperature extremes would freeze or cook us. They evolved in conditions that would be torture for us. They chose to help strangers instead of conquering territory. This makes them more dangerous, not less." It's in the neutral zone between major powers. Pirates and raiders received the news with growing alarm. Captain Rex Kane, whose fleet had terrorized the outer colonies for years, studied intelligence reports about the human intervention. "They jumped across half the galaxy to help people they'd never met," he told his first officer, a scarred Tellurian named Jack. "No profit motive, no territorial gain. They just decided that the Vex were wrong and needed to be stopped. Into the recycler. So what? They got lucky against one Vex fleet. Doesn't mean they can fight everyone." Rex pulled up the tactical analysis of the battle. "Look at this. Perfect coordination between 40 ships. Weapons we've never seen before. Soldiers who fought through a defended position without a single casualty. Jack, these aren't merchants playing soldier. These are professional killers who chose to be heroes." The implications were clear. If the humans were willing to cross space to help defenseless colonists, what would they do to pirates who preyed on innocent traders? Back in the Galactic Council chambers, President Vor was asking the question everyone wanted answered. "What do you want from us, Ambassador Chen? Why reveal yourselves now?" David looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of dozens of different species. "We want to join your community, to trade with you, learn from you, share what we know." "We have conditions. Name them," Vor said carefully. "Any species under attack by aggressive neighbors can call for help. Any world threatened by raiders or invaders can request our protection. In exchange, we ask for normal diplomatic relations, trade agreements, and cultural exchange programs." The chamber erupted in discussion. Some delegates saw opportunity, others saw threat. A few recognized what David was really offering: an end to the age of unchecked aggression that had plagued the galaxy for centuries. Senator Krell stood up, his scales glittering under the chamber lights. "And if we refuse these conditions..." David's expression remained calm, but something cold flickered in his eyes. "Then you refuse them. We will not force ourselves on anyone, but we will also not ignore calls for help from innocent people. The choice is yours." The message was clear to everyone present. The humans were offering partnership to those who wanted peace and promising protection to those who needed it. But they were also serving notice to anyone who profited from others' suffering. The galaxy had new guardians. They came from a world that had tried to kill them every day of their existence. 6 months after the Battle of New Haven, the galaxy was a different place. Trade routes that had been abandoned due to pirate attacks were busy again. Border conflicts that had raged for decades suddenly ended in peace treaties. The mere possibility of human intervention had changed everything. Marcus Reed stood in his rebuilt office, looking out at the thriving colony. New Haven was larger now than it had ever been. Refugees from other worlds had come seeking the protection that Earth's children offered. The population had doubled. More ships arrived every week. Captain Elena Torres walked through the streets in her new uniform. She was no longer just colonial security. The humans had offered training to local defense forces across the galaxy, and Elena had been among the first to accept. Her officers now carried weapons designed on Earth and new tactics developed in Tai, humanity's endless wars of survival. "Any word from the patrol ships?" Marcus asked as Elena entered his office. "All quiet," she replied. "The human cruiser Phoenix is on station at the edge of the system. Nothing gets past them without permission." Marcus nodded. The human protection fleet had grown steadily as more worlds requested aid. Earth's shipyards worked around the clock building new vessels. But they were not conquest fleets. They were guardian ships, watching over the peaceful species who had chosen to trust humanity. On the Vex homeworld, the peace negotiations continued. Ambassador Chen sat across from War Leader Scrix in a chamber designed for both species' comfort. The Vex had learned quickly that humans preferred direct communication over the subtle political games that other species played. "The Emperor Form has agreed to your terms," Scrix reported. "Full withdrawal from all occupied worlds. Compensation for damages. Restriction of military forces to our home system." David studied the peace agreement carefully. "The Queen Form we captured. She will be returned to us as a gesture of good faith," Scrix replied. "The Emperor understands that humans do not keep prisoners for sport." It was true. The captured Queen had been treated well during her time on human ships. She had been fed, given medical care, and allowed to communicate with her people. The concept of humane treatment for enemies was foreign to most galactic species. But it was one of humanity's most important values. "There is one more condition," David said. "The Vex Empire will establish a monitoring station staffed by human observers. Any future military action must be approved by Earth Command." Scrix's compound eyes flashed with what might have been irritation, but he nodded, agreed. "The Empire has learned that expansion through conquest is no longer possible. We will find other ways to grow." Meanwhile, in the pirate strongholds scattered across the Outer Rim, a very different conversation was taking place. Captain Rex Kane had called together the leaders of the major raiding fleets. The meeting was held on a hidden asteroid base. Far from normal shipping lanes, "We have a problem," Rex announced to the assembled pirates. "The humans are killing our business." Growls and complaints filled the chamber. Trade routes that had been profitable hunting grounds were now protected. Merchant ships traveled in convoys escorted by human warships. Independent raiders found themselves facing Earth's patrol fleets when they tried to attack defenseless targets. "What do you suggest?" asked Captain Veracross, whose fleet had been forced to retreat from 3 separate attacks in the past month. "We can't fight them directly. They destroyed an entire Vex invasion force." Rex activated a holographic display showing shipping data. "We adapt. We stop targeting innocent traders and start offering protection services. The humans can't be everywhere at once. We become the solution instead of the problem." The other pirates stared at him in shock. Become legitimate? Work as hired guards instead of raiders. It went against everything they believed in. "Think about it," Rex continued. "The galaxy is changing. The humans have made it clear that predators who hunt innocents will be destroyed. But they might accept predators who hunt other predators." It was a radical shift in thinking, but the alternatives were worse. Fight humanity and die, or adapt and survive. In the Galactic Council chambers, President Vor was reading the monthly security reports. Piracy was down 70% across all sectors. Border conflicts had decreased by 60%. Trade volume was up 40% as merchants felt safe to explore new routes. "The humans have kept their word," reported Intelligence Director Mac, a small furry creature whose species specialized in information gathering. "They respond to calls for help, but they do not conquer territory. They offer protection, but they do not demand tribute." Vor studied the data carefully. Other powerful species in galactic history had made similar promises, but they had always ended up becoming conquerors themselves. The humans seemed genuinely different. "Have we learned anything about their homeworld?" Vor asked. "Our scientists have studied their biological data," Mac replied. "Earth is classified as a Class 12 death world, the highest classification we have. Most of our species would die there within hours, either from the gravity, the atmosphere, or the predators. And yet they chose to become protectors instead of conquerors." "That may be exactly why they chose protection," Mac said thoughtfully. "A species that evolved by fighting for survival every day would understand the value of safety for others." On Earth itself, Admiral Sarah Kim stood in the Strategic Command Center. Watching the holographic display that showed human fleet positions across the galaxy, green dots marked peaceful systems under Earth's protection. Yellow dots showed areas of potential conflict. Red dots indicated active threats requiring immediate response. "Status report," she ordered. 47 systems under formal protection agreements, reported Commander Jack Foster. 12 new requests for aid this week. The Outer Rim colonies are asking for a permanent patrol base. Sarah nodded. Earth's military had expanded rapidly to meet the demands of their new role, but they had learned from history. The fleets were designed for defense and rapid response, not conquest. Every ship carried relief supplies along with weapons. Every Marine was trained in disaster response as well as combat. "Any word from the deep space monitoring stations?" Sarah asked. "All quiet?" "The long-range sensors show normal traffic patterns. No unknown fleets. No massive military buildups." "It seems like everyone has gotten the message." The message was simple. The galaxy now had guardians. Species that wanted to live in peace could call for help and receive it. Species that preferred conquest and exploitation would face the full might of humanity's military. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the UES Retribution, watching New Haven Colony grow larger on his view screen. His ship was returning from patrol, having escorted a convoy of refugee transports to safety. It was the kind of mission that made him proud to wear his uniform. "Sir," reported his communication officer, "we're receiving a message from Colony Administrator Reed. He's inviting the crew for shore leave." Jake smiled.
Aye.
The people of New Haven had become some of humanity's strongest supporters. They had seen Earth's children at their best, risking everything to save strangers. That memory would be passed down for generations. "Signal the colony," Jake ordered. "Tell them we'll be happy to visit, and remind them that they're not strangers anymore. They're family." The galaxy had learned that when good people called for it, help, the Deathworlders would answer. And they would keep answering, no matter how far they had to travel or how dangerous the enemy might be. Because that was what humans did. They protected those who could not protect themselves. Dr. Maya Rodriguez sat in the control room of Earth's Deep Space Communications Array. Watching the screens that showed nothing but empty space and static, she had been working the night shift for 3 years now, and most nights were exactly the same. Radio waves from distant stars, background radiation from the galaxy, and sometimes signals from Earth's own satellites coming back home. But tonight was different. At exactly 2:47 a.m., something strange appeared on her main screen. The signal was weak at first, just a small blip that could have been anything. Maya leaned forward and adjusted the controls. The signal got stronger. What the hell? She whispered to herself. The signal was definitely artificial. It had patterns that nature never made. Maya had seen thousands of signals over the years, radio waves from pulsars, radiation from black holes, even signals from Earth's old space. Probes. This was something else entirely. She called her team immediately. Dr. Tom Wilson arrived first, still wearing his pajamas under his lab coat. Behind him came Professor Lisa Chen, the head of the language department, and Dr. Alex Kumar, their best computer specialist. "Show us what you found," Tom said, rubbing his tired eyes. Maya pointed at the screen. "Look at this pattern. It repeats every 47 seconds. But each time it changes slightly. This is not natural." Lisa moved closer to the screen. She had spent her whole career studying human languages, but she knew patterns when she saw them. "This looks like communication. Someone is trying to tell us something." For the next 6 hours, the team worked to clean up the signal. They used every filter and enhancement tool they had. Slowly, the message became clearer. It was coming from somewhere beyond Pluto, at the very edge of the solar system. Alex ran the signal through the computer systems. "The source is moving," he announced. "Whatever is sending this signal is heading toward the inner solar system." "How fast?" Maya asked. "Not very fast, but it's definitely moving in our direction. At this speed, it will pass Mars in about 8 months.
Ow.
The next few days were chaos. The team worked around the clock to decode more of the signal. They found coordinates buried in the transmission, exact locations in space that pointed to the signal's source. They found energy readings that showed massive power systems in critical failure. Most importantly, they found what looked like a countdown timer, Dr. Helen Foster. The director of the Deep Space Array arrived on the 3rd day with a team of government officials, and Maya had never seen so many people in black suits in her life. "Exactly are we dealing with here?" Director Foster asked. Maya pulled up the latest analysis on the big screen. "We believe this is a distress call from an alien spacecraft. The ship is huge. Our calculations suggest it's roughly the size of Earth's moon. Their power systems are failing, and based on the countdown timer we found, they have less than a year before total system failure." One of the government officials, a man with gray hair and serious eyes, stepped forward. "Are you certain this is genuine? This could be some kind of hoax or test from another country?" Professor Chen shook her head. "The mathematical structures in this signal are completely unlike any human communication system. The language patterns are alien. This is not something any Earth government could create." Over the next week, more pieces of the message were decoded. The aliens called themselves the Helix. Their message explained that they were the last survivors of their dying homeworld. Their ship carried thousands of their people, all searching for a new place to live. The Helix explained that their ship was not designed for such a long journey. Their power systems were failing because they had been running for much longer than planned. Their life support systems were breaking down. People were dying every day. The message included a request. They wanted permission to pass through human space to reach a distant star system where they hoped to build a new home. They also asked for help. They needed to harvest energy from Jupiter's radiation belt and gather resources from the asteroid belt to repair their ship. Maya found herself staying late every night. listening to the alien voices that had been translated by the computers. Even through the electronic translation, she could hear desperation in their words. These were people who had lost everything and were asking for help from strangers. But not everyone was convinced. General Marcus Stone arrived at the facility with a team of military analysts. He was a tall man with silver hair and eyes that seemed to see everything. He had spent his career defending Earth from threats, and he looked at the alien signal as a potential danger. "How do we know this is really a refugee ship?" he asked. During a briefing, "How do we know they're not scouts for an invasion force? How do we know anything they're telling us is true?" Dr. Kumar pulled up technical readouts on his computer. "Our scans show that their ship does have massive power systems, and many of them appear to be failing. We can also detect what looks like population centers, areas where many life forms are gathered together. But you also detect what could be weapons," General Stone pointed out. "Massive energy systems that could be used for destruction." He felt frustrated. Of course they have weapons. They've been traveling through space for who knows how long. They need to defend themselves from asteroids, cosmic radiation, and who knows what else they might encounter out there. The debate continued. For days, scientists wanted to help the aliens. Military leaders wanted to be careful. Politicians wanted to make decisions that would not get them blamed if things went wrong. Meanwhile, the alien ship continued its slow approach toward Earth. Every day, more of their message was decoded. The Helix told stories of their beautiful homeworld that had been destroyed by natural disasters. They shared images of their people, tall, thin beings with large eyes and graceful movements. They showed pictures of their children and spoke of their hope for a new life among the stars. Maya began to feel a connection to these alien refugees. She had grown up hearing stories of her own great-grandmother who had fled her home country during a war and come to America with nothing but hope for a better life. Now, generations later, Maya was listening to other refugees telling a similar story on a cosmic scale. As the weeks passed, Earth's governments began to respond. Emergency sessions were called in the United Nations. Scientists from every country offered to help with the translation and analysis efforts. Military leaders prepared for every possible scenario. The world watched and waited as the alien ship slowly approached the inner solar system. Humanity was about to make first contact with an alien civilization, and everyone knew that whatever happened next would change the course of human history forever. The Helix continued to send their desperate messages, asking for help and permission to pass through human space. Their countdown timer continued to tick down, marking the days until their ship's systems would fail completely. Earth had to decide, would humanity help these alien refugees, or would they turn away beings who claimed to need their assistance to survive? Admiral James Carter stood on the bridge of the UN's Prometheus, staring at the massive alien ship through the main viewing screen. 3 months had passed since Earth first received the distress signal, and now humanity's most advanced warship was approaching the Helix vessel for the first time. The alien ship was even larger than their calculations had suggested. It stretched across space like a small metal moon, covered in strange towers and curved surfaces that caught the light from distant stars. Parts of the ship were dark, showing where their power systems had failed. Other sections still glowed with alien energy. "Distance to target?" Admiral Carter asked. 200 kilometers in closing, reported Lieutenant Commander Jake Harrison from the navigation station. "All systems are ready, sir." Carter nodded. He was a veteran of space operations, but this was unlike anything he had ever faced. Beside him stood Captain Elena Vasquez, Earth's best diplomatic officer. She had been chosen to lead the first official contact with the alien race. "Any response to our communication attempts?" Carter asked. "Yes, sir," came the reply from the communications officer. "They're responding on multiple frequencies. The translation computers are working to decode their language." Carter had been briefed on everything Earth knew about the Helix. They claimed to be refugees from a dying world, carrying thousands of survivors in search of a new home. Their ship was failing, and they needed help to repair it and continue their journey. But General Stone's warnings echoed in Carter's mind. How could they be sure the aliens were telling the truth? Admiral, Captain Vasquez said quietly, "We need to approach this carefully. These beings have been traveling through space for who knows how long. They're probably afraid and desperate. We need to show them that we want to help." Carter respected Vasquez's opinion. She had handled difficult, diplomatic situations all over Earth, and she understood how to deal with people in crisis. But this was different. These weren't humans from another country, they were aliens from another world. Out. Incoming transmission, the communications officer announced. The translation system is online. The main screen changed to show the interior of the alien ship. A tall, thin being appeared on the screen. It had large, dark eyes and pale skin that seemed to glow slightly. When it spoke, the translation computer turned its words into English. "Greetings, people of Earth," the alien said. Its voice sounded tired and sad through the translation. "I am Kale, speaking for the Helix Council. We thank you for responding to our distress call." Captain Vasquez stepped forward. "Greetings, Kale. I am Captain Elena Vasquez, representing Earth's United Nations. We received your message and want to help. Can you tell us more about your situation?" Kale's image flickered slightly, showing problems with their communication system. "Our ship has been traveling for many cycles, what you would call years. Our homeworld was destroyed by natural disasters. We carry the last survivors of our people, seeking a new world where we can rebuild our civilization." The alien gestured to something off-screen, and the view changed to show the interior of the ship. Carter saw long corridors filled with more. Of the tall beings, many looked sick or injured. Some were lying on beds that seemed to float in the air. Children with the same large eyes as the adults looked thin and weak. "Our power cores are failing," Kale continued. "Our life support systems are breaking down. Every day, more of our people die. We estimate that we have less than 200 days before total system failure." Carter felt a mix of sympathy and caution. The images were heartbreaking, but he had to think about Earth's safety. "What kind of help do you need?" he asked. "We need energy to power our ship," Kale explained. "Your star system has a large planet with strong radiation, Jupiter, you call it. We need to harvest energy from its radiation belt. We also need raw materials from the asteroid belt to repair our damaged systems." Captain Vasquez nodded. "That seems reasonable, but we need to understand more about your technology. Our scientists need to know how your systems work so we can help effectively," Kale agreed. And over the next several days, teams of human scientists boarded the Helix ship. Dr. Maya Rodriguez was among them. Finally meeting the aliens whose distress call she had first discovered, the inside of the alien ship was incredible. The technology was far beyond anything humans had developed. Walls seemed to be made of living metal that could change shape. Lights floated in the air without any visible power source. Transportation tubes moved people through the ship without any mechanical parts that humans could understand. Dr. Rodriguez worked with a Helix engineer named Vera to understand their power systems. Vera was patient and helpful, explaining how their energy cores worked and what repairs were needed. Through the translation device, Rodriguez learned that the Helix had developed technology that could manipulate matter at the atomic level. "Your people are very advanced," Rodriguez told Vera during one of their working sessions. "We had thousands of years to develop our science," Vera replied sadly. "But all our knowledge could not save our world when the disasters came." Meanwhile, other human teams studied different parts of the ship. They found vast living areas, where thousands of Helix people lived in conditions that were clearly meant to be temporary. They saw food production systems that were breaking down, causing shortages that were slowly starving the alien population, but they also found things that made them uncomfortable. Scan data showed massive energy systems that seemed far more powerful than anything needed for a refugee ship. Some areas of the ship were restricted, with Helix guards preventing human access. General Stone arrived on the Prometheus after the first week of contact. He brought with him a team of military analysts who reviewed all the data being collected from the alien ship. "I don't like this," he told Admiral Carter during a private briefing. "Their technology is far beyond ours. If they wanted to attack Earth, we couldn't stop them. They're asking for help. not threatening us, Captain Vasquez argued. They could have attacked already if that was their intention. Be there waiting for the right moment, Stone replied. Maybe they want to get closer to Earth first, or maybe they want to repair their systems before they reveal their true purpose. Carter studied the reports from the human teams aboard the alien ship. The Helix were definitely in need of help. Their people were dying. Their systems were failing. But their technology was so advanced that it was hard to understand what they were really capable of. Dr. Rodriguez reported that the Helix power cores used principles that human science barely understood. Their weapon systems, and she was sure. They had weapons, even though the Helix called them defensive systems, could probably destroy any human ship with ease. The question is, Carter said during a senior staff meeting, are they really refugees, or are they something else? And can we afford to take the risk of helping them? The debate continued as the human teams worked with the Helix to begin emergency repairs. Earth's government sent supplies and equipment to help with the most critical systems. Slowly, the immediate crisis was being addressed. But deep in the alien ship, in areas that humans were not allowed to visit, other systems were also being repaired. Systems that had nothing to do with life support or basic survival. Systems that would soon reveal the true nature of the Helix and their mission. The countdown timer that had worried Earth scientists continued to tick down, but it was not counting down to system failure. It was counting down to something much more dangerous. Lieutenant David Kim had always been good with computers, but the alien data systems were like nothing he had ever seen. For 2 weeks, he had been working in the lower levels of the Helix ship, helping to repair their communication networks. The work was slow and difficult because human technology was so different from alien technology. The Helix engineers were helpful and patient. They showed David how their systems worked and explained their methods for storing information. But there were always areas that were off limits, sections of the ship where humans were not allowed to go. Why can't we access those areas? Had asked Vera, the Helix engineer he worked with most often. Those are private spaces, Vera had explained through the translation device. Personal areas for our people. You understand the need for privacy, yes? David had accepted that explanation. At first, every species probably needed private space. But as he worked deeper in the ship's computer systems, he began to notice strange things. The data flows didn't match what the Helix had told them about their ship, according to their story. This was a refugee vessel carrying the survivors of a dead world. But the computer systems showed something different. They showed systems for processing raw materials on a massive scale. They showed databases containing detailed information about dozens of star systems and the planets within them. Most disturbing of all, they showed records of other worlds, other species that the Helix had encountered during their journey through. Space David worked carefully to access these records without alerting the Helix computer security systems. What he found made his blood run cold. The Helix weren't refugees, they were conquerors. Their homeworld hadn't been destroyed by natural disasters. According to their own records, they had strip-mined their planet until it could no longer support life. They had consumed every resource, cut down every forest, drained every ocean, turned their beautiful world into a dead rock. When their world died, they didn't learn from their mistakes. Instead, they built massive ships like this one and went looking for new worlds to consume. David found records of dozens of civilizations that the Helix had encountered. Each time, they used the same method. They would approach a world pretending to be refugees in need of help. They would claim their ship was failing and ask for assistance. Once they gained the trust of the local population, they would reveal their true nature. The ship David was working on wasn't a refugee vessel. It was a harvester, a massive machine designed to consume entire worlds and turn them into fuel for the Helix war machine. The failing systems weren't really failing. They were weapon systems that were still being activated. The countdown timer that had worried Earth's scientists wasn't counting down to system failure. It was counting down to the moment when the Helix weapons would be fully online and ready to begin harvesting Earth's solar system. David read through record after record of destroyed civilizations. The Helix had perfected their technique over thousands of years. They would take some of the conquered population as slaves, consume all the planet's resources. and then move on to the next system. One record showed a species called the Makers who had tried to help the Helix just as humans were doing now. The Makers had shared their technology and resources with the refugee ship. Within 6 months, their entire civilization was gone, their world stripped bare, their people either dead or enslaved. Another record told the story of the Dreamers, a peaceful species that had welcomed the Helix with open arms. They had offered to share their world and help the Helix build a new home. The Helix had accepted their offer, then systematically destroyed every city, every farm, and every living thing on the planet. David's hands shook as he copied the files to a secure data storage device. He had to get this information back too. Admiral Carter and the other human leaders. And no one except him knew the truth, but getting the information off the ship would be difficult. The Helix monitored all communications between their ship and the human vessels. They would notice if David tried to send a message warning Earth about what he had discovered. David decided to approach Dr. Anna Petrov, the xenorchaeologist who was studying Helix culture and history. She was working in a different section of the ship, studying artifacts that the Helix claimed were from their destroyed homeworld. Dr. Petrov, David said quietly, when he found her working alone in a storage area. I need to show you something, but we can't let the Helix see us talking about it. Anna looked up from the artifact she was examining. She was a smart woman who had spent years studying dead civilizations. What kind of something? David glanced around to make sure no Helix were nearby, then showed her his portable computer. I've been accessing their databanks. The Helix aren't what they claim to be. Anna read through the files that David had copied. Her face grew pale as she understood what she was seeing. This can't be right. These records show they've destroyed dozens of civilizations. It gets worse, David said, showing her more files. Look at this artifact you're studying. It's not from their home world. It's from one of the worlds they conquered. They keep trophies from every civilization they destroy. Anna looked at the artifact with new eyes. It was a beautiful sculpture that showed strange beings reaching toward the stars. She had thought it represented the Helix people's hope for a new life among the stars. Now she realized it probably showed the final moments of a dying species, reaching for help that would never come. We have to warn Admiral Carter, Anna said. I know, but how? They monitor all our communications. They realize we know the truth. They might accelerate their timeline. Anna thought for a moment. The supply shuttle from the Prometheus is coming tomorrow. If we can get this information to the shuttle crew without the Helix knowing, they can carry it back to the Admiral. David nodded. But we have to be careful. If the Helix suspects anything, they might take us prisoner or worse. Over the next day, David and Anna worked together to gather more evidence. They found maintenance records showing that the ship's failing. Weapon systems were actually being repaired and upgraded. They found population records showing that many of the sick and dying Helix were actually healthy warriors being kept in reserve. Most chilling of all, they found detailed plans for harvesting Earth's solar system. The plans showed how the Helix would strip mine the asteroid belt, drain Jupiter's energy, and eventually consume Earth itself. The plans included population estimates and calculations for how many humans could be kept as slaves. When the supply shuttle arrived, David managed to pass the data storage device to one of the crew members without being seen. The crew member, Sergeant Mike Torres, had been briefed to watch for any suspicious behavior from the aliens. Get this to Admiral Carter immediately, David whispered. Don't let anyone else see it first. The Helix have infiltration capabilities we don't understand. As the shuttle departed, David and Anna returned to their work, trying to act normal while they waited for Earth's response. They knew that once Admiral Carter saw the evidence, everything would change. But they also knew that the Helix were smart and experienced. They had been using this deception for thousands of years. They would be watching for signs that their cover had been blown. David continued working on the computer systems. But now he was looking for different information. He was trying to find the ship's weaknesses, ways that humanity might be able to fight back against the massive alien vessel. Anna continued studying the artifacts. But now, she understood them as memorials to dead civilizations. Each piece represented an entire species that had trusted the Helix and paid for that trust with extinction. The countdown timer continued to tick down. marking the days until the helix would reveal their true nature and begin harvesting Earth's solar system. But now, at least, some humans knew the truth about what was coming. Admiral Carter stared at the data storage device that Sergeant Torres had delivered from the helix ship. The evidence that Lieutenant Kim and Dr. Petrov had gathered was undeniable. The aliens weren't refugees, they were predators who had been hunting across the galaxy for thousands of years.
How long do we have?
Carter asked General Stone, who had arrived on the Prometheus within hours of receiving the intelligence. According to their countdown timer, less than 60 days, Stone replied grimly. Once their weapon systems are fully online, they'll be able to destroy any defense we can mount. Captain Vasquez looked sick as she read through the files. Oh. Those civilizations they destroyed. All those people who trusted them, just like we did. The question now is what we do about it, Carter said. We can't fight them conventionally. Their technology is thousands of years ahead of ours. The emergency meeting included Earth's top military leaders, scientists, and strategists. Everyone agreed that a direct assault on the massive alien ship would be suicide. The Helix vessel was the size of a small moon and protected by energy. Shields that human weapons couldn't penetrate. Dr. Rodriguez, who had been working aboard the Helix ship, provided crucial technical information. Their matter manipulation technology is incredibly advanced, but it has a weakness. The systems can't handle unstable atomic structures. When I showed them our nuclear reactors, they were actually afraid of them. Afraid? General Stone asked. Why would they be afraid of primitive nuclear technology? Because it's unpredictable, Rodriguez explained. Their entire technology is based on controlling matter at the atomic level. Nuclear reactions create chaos that their systems can't predict or control. It's like showing a master chess player a game where the pieces randomly explode. Captain Robert Hayes, commander of the stealth destroyer on Shadow, leaned forward. Are you saying our nuclear weapons might actually work against them? Better than that, Rodriguez said. Their power cores are based on controlled matter conversion. If we could introduce nuclear instability into their core systems, it would create a cascade reaction that their safety systems couldn't stop. Admiral Carter studied the technical readouts. What kind of cascade reaction are we talking about? Complete power core failure, Rodriguez replied. The energy release would be equivalent to a small star-going supernova. It would destroy their ship completely and probably take out half our solar system, General Stone added grimly. Not necessarily, said Dr. Franklin Webb, Earth's top nuclear physicist, who had joined the meeting via video link. If we could time it right and position the ship in the outer solar system, the explosion would be directed away from Earth, but we'd lose the outer colonies on Mars and Europa. The weight of the decision settled on Admiral Carter's shoulders. Destroying the Helix ship would save Earth from conquest, but it would also kill thousands of human colonists in the outer system. However, if they did nothing, the entire human race would be enslaved or destroyed. There's another problem, Captain Hayes added. The Helix have taken human hostages. Our people working on their ship, Kim Petrov, Rodriguez's team, they're all still aboard. If we destroy the ship, we kill them too. Colonel Lisa Morgan, commander of Earth Special Forces, spoke up. Not necessarily, if we can mount a rescue operation at the same time as the sabotage mission, we might be able to get our people out. Carter looked around the room at the faces of Earth's defenders. So our plan is to infiltrate a ship the size of a moon, rescue our people, sabotage their power cores with nuclear devices, and escape before the whole thing explodes like a star.
Oh, when you put it like that, it sounds impossible, Captain Vasquez.
Said it is impossible, General Stone replied, but it's also our only chance. The plan that emerged from the next 12 hours of intensive planning was desperate and dangerous. Captain Hayes would use the Shadow's stealth capabilities to approach the Helix ship undetected. Colonel Morgan's team would board the alien vessel and locate the human hostages while Hayes's engineers planted nuclear charges in the power core chambers. The most dangerous part of the mission fell to Lieutenant Commander Jack Ryan, a nuclear engineer who volunteered to manually trigger the cascade reaction. The nuclear devices would need to be precisely calibrated and activated in a specific sequence to create the chain reaction that would destroy the ship. "I can set timers," Ryan said, "but if something goes wrong, someone needs to be there too. Trigger the devices manually. The Helix might detect the nuclear material and try to disable the charges." "That's a suicide mission," Captain Vasquez pointed out. "Maybe," Ryan replied. "But if we don't do this, everyone on Earth dies anyway." The Shadow approached the Helix ship using a flight path that took advantage of the alien vessel's blind spots. Hayes had studied the ship's sensor arrays and found gaps in their coverage, areas where the massive ship's own bulk blocked their detection systems. "Approaching Docking Bay 7, Hayes reported quietly. "No sign that they've detected us." Colonel Morgan's team consisted of 12 special forces, soldiers armed with weapons designed to work in the alien environment. They had studied the ship's layout using intelligence gathered by Kim and Petrov, but they knew that much of the vessel remained unmapped. "Remember," Morgan told her team as they prepared to board, "our primary objective is rescuing our people. The sabotage mission only works if we can get everyone out alive." The boarding operation went smoothly at first. The Shadow's team moved through the lower levels of the Helix ship, avoiding the main corridors where alien patrols might spot them. The ship was so massive that the human team was able to move for hours without encountering any Helix guards. They found Lieutenant Kim and Dr. Petrov first, still working in the computer systems area where they had discovered the truth about the Helix. Both were surprised but relieved to see the rescue team. "How did you get aboard without them detecting you?" Kim asked. Very carefully, Morgan replied. "Where are the other members of Rodriguez's team?" "Scattered throughout the ship," Petrov said. "The Helix have been moving them around, probably to prevent them from gathering information like we did." Meanwhile, Lieutenant Commander Ryan and his engineering team made their way toward the ship's power core chambers. The nuclear devices they carried were small but incredibly powerful. Each one contained enough unstable uranium to trigger a cascade reaction in the alien power systems. First power core chamber located, Ryan reported through his encrypted communicator, beginning installation of primary charge. The work was delicate and dangerous. Ryan had to place the nuclear device precisely within the alien power core while avoiding the energy fields that could kill him instantly. The Helix power systems were beautiful, but deadly streams of controlled energy that could disintegrate. "Matter at the molecular level? Charge 1 in position," Ryan reported, moving to Chamber 2. As the human teams worked, the Helix began to notice that something was wrong. Guards found evidence of the human infiltration. Footprints in areas where humans weren't supposed to be. Computer systems that had been accessed without authorization. Kale, the Helix leader who had first communicated with Earth, activated the ship's internal security systems. "Seal all sections," he ordered. "The humans have discovered our true purpose. They are attempting sabotage." Suddenly, the rescue mission became a race against time. Colonel Morgan's team had found 6 of the 10 missing humans, but the ship's security systems were making it harder to move through the corridors. "They're on to us," Morgan reported to Admiral Carter. "We need to accelerate the timeline." Ryan was working on the 3rd power core when the Helix security forces found him. Energy weapons fired down the corridor, forcing him to take cover behind the massive alien machinery. "I can get to more charges in place," Ryan reported, "but I'm pinned down. The Helix have found me." "Hold your position," Admiral Carter ordered. "Morgan's team is moving to support you." The battle inside the alien ship was unlike anything humans had ever experienced. The Helix weapons fired beams of energy that could cut through metal and flesh with equal ease. But the alien warriors weren't prepared for human tactics, the desperate, chaotic fighting style that Earth soldiers had perfected through centuries of warfare. Colonel Morgan's team fought their way through the ship's corridors, using grenades and automatic weapons to clear paths through the alien defenders. The Helix had superior technology, but humans had superior experience in close-quarters combat. "Ryan, we're almost to your position," Morgan called out. "How many more charges? Do you need a place?" "2 more," Ryan replied, firing his pistol at a Helix warrior who was trying to flank his position. "But I need covering fire to reach the power cores." As the battle raged inside the alien ship, Admiral Carter watched from the Prometheus, knowing that the fate of humanity depended on a handful of soldiers and engineers fighting desperately in the belly of an alien beast. Lieutenant Commander Ryan pressed himself against the alien machinery as energy beams cut through the air around him. Colonel Morgan's team was fighting their way toward his position, but the Helix defenders were putting up fierce resistance. He had managed to place 4 of the 6 nuclear charges, but he needed to reach the primary power core to complete the mission. "Ryan, we're 30 seconds out," Morgan's voice crackled through his communicator. "Can you hold your position?" "Barely," Ryan replied, firing his pistol at a Helix warrior who was trying to flank him. "But I can see the primary core chamber. If I can get there, I can finish this." The sound of human weapons grew louder as Morgan's team fought through the corridor. Ryan heard the distinctive boom of grenades and the rapid fire of assault rifles. The aliens had superior technology, but humans had one advantage. They were used to fighting dirty. "Go, go, go," Morgan shouted as her team burst into the power core chamber. The Special Forces soldiers spread out, taking defensive positions. And laying down covering fire, Ryan sprinted across the open space toward the primary power core. The alien machinery was beautiful and terrifying, streams of energy flowing through crystalline structures that hummed with power. He could feel the radiation from the core washing over him, but he ignored it. He had a job to finish. The 5th nuclear charge went into place with a soft click. Ryan's hands were shaking as he worked on the 6th and final device. This was the primary trigger, the charge that would start the cascade reaction that would destroy the entire ship. "All charges in place," Ryan reported. "Beginning activation sequence." "How long do we have?" Admiral Carter's voice came through. The communicator from the distant Prometheus. "Once I start the sequence, we have exactly 12 minutes before the cascade begins," Ryan said. "After that, nothing can stop it." Colonel Morgan's team was already moving toward the extraction point, carrying the rescued human scientists and engineers. Dr. Petrov and Lieutenant Kim were among them, along with 6 other members of Rodriguez's research team. 2 humans had been killed during the rescue operation, but the rest were safe. "All teams move to Extraction Point Alpha," Carter ordered. "Shadow, prepare for emergency departure." Captain Hayes had the stealth destroyer positioned near one of the Helix ship's smaller docking bays. The plan was to get everyone aboard the Shadow and escape before the alien ship exploded. But they were running out of time. Ryan finished setting the timers on the nuclear charges and activated the sequence. Deep in the alien power core's unstable uranium began to interact with the sophisticated matter manipulation systems. The Helix technology, designed to control matter at the atomic level, couldn't handle the chaotic nuclear reactions. "Sequence activated," Ryan announced. 11 minutes and counting. But as the human teams fought their way toward the extraction point, something unexpected happened. The Helix ship's computer systems detected the nuclear instability and tried to compensate. Instead of shutting down the affected power cores, the alien technology attempted to contain and control the nuclear reactions. "The cascade is accelerating," Ryan reported, watching his instruments with growing alarm. "The alien systems are making it worse. We don't have 11 minutes. We have maybe 4. Admiral Carter felt his stomach drop. "All teams run. Get to the Shadow now." The corridors of the alien ship became a battlefield as the human teams fought their way toward escape. The Helix warriors were trying to stop them, but they were also dealing with their own crisis. Power fluctuations were causing systems to fail throughout the massive vessel. Colonel Morgan's team reached the Shadow first. Dragging the rescued scientists aboard the stealth destroyer, Dr. Petrov collapsed as soon as she was through the airlock, exhausted from the fighting and the stress of the rescue. "Where's Ryan?" she asked. "Still coming," Morgan replied. But her voice was tight with worry. Ryan was running through corridors that were beginning to shake as the power cores destabilized. Emergency lights were flashing, and alien voices were shouting warnings in their strange language. He could feel the deck plates vibrating under his feet as massive energies built up in the ship's core. "Ryan, where are you?" Carter's voice demanded. "Shh. 2 minutes out," Ryan panted, turning a corner and seeing the docking bay. "Ahead. But I don't think I'm going to make it." The power core cascade was accelerating beyond all predictions. The nuclear charges had created instabilities that the alien technology couldn't control. Instead of a gradual build-up to explosion, the reaction was spiraling out of control much faster than anyone had expected. "Get everyone out of here," Ryan ordered. "Don't wait for me." "Negative," Admiral Carter replied. "We don't leave people behind." But Captain Hayes was already making the impossible decision. "Admiral, if we don't leave now, we all die. The ship is going to explode in less than 2 minutes." Ryan reached the docking bay just as the Shadow's engines were firing up. He could see the stealth destroyer pulling away from the alien ship, carrying the rescued humans to safety. It missed his chance at rescue, but the mission was complete. "Tell Earth what happened here," Ryan said into his communicator. "Tell them that sometimes being primitive is an advantage." The explosion, when it came, was beyond anything humans had ever witnessed. The Helix ship's power cores released energy equivalent to a small star-going supernova. The blast was visible from Earth, a brief new star that appeared in the sky for several hours before fading away. The shockwave from the explosion damaged several outer colonies. Mars base lost power for 3 days. Europa Station suffered hull breaches that killed 47 colonists, but Earth itself was safe. The cost was terrible, but the alternative would have been much worse. Humanity had learned what the Helix really were. Not refugees, predators who had been hunting across the galaxy for thousands of years. But the explosion had consequences that no one expected. Dr. Maya Rodriguez was back on Earth and analyzing the data from the destroyed alien ship, made a disturbing discovery 3 months after the explosion. "Admiral, we have a problem," she told Carter during a secure video conference. "What kind of problem?" "The explosion was detected by other alien civilizations. We're receiving signals from across the galaxy. The destruction of the Helix ship sent out energy signatures that traveled faster than light. Every advanced species in this part of the galaxy knows what happened." Carter felt a chill run down his spine. "Are they angry that we destroyed the Helix?" "Some are. But others..." Double quotes. Rodriguez paused, checking her data again. "Others are impressed. We're receiving alliance requests from species that have been hiding from the Helix for centuries. They want our protection." Commander Sarah Mitchell, who had been promoted to head Earth's new Stellar Defense Initiative, studied the incoming signals. Some were warnings, messages from alien species, telling others to avoid the dangerous humans who had destroyed the mighty Helix. Others were requests for help from civilizations that were being threatened by other predator species. Mitchell told the United Nations Emergency Council that our willingness to fight back against impossible odds has marked us as something new in the galaxy. We're no longer the primitive species hiding on a single world. We're the species that killed the Helix. The debate that followed would shape humanity's future among the stars. Wanted to retreat, to hide on Earth, and hope that no other alien species would bother them. Others wanted to reach out, to build alliances with the species that were asking for help. But everyone agreed on one thing: humanity had changed. The desperate fight against the Helix had revealed something about human nature that even humans hadn't fully understood. When faced with extinction, they didn't surrender. They fought back with everything they had, even when victory seemed impossible. The galaxy had taken notice. Across thousands of star systems, alien species were asking the same question: what kind of beings would sacrifice themselves to destroy an enemy, even when that enemy claimed to be seeking help? The answer was beginning to spread through the galaxy like the shockwave from the exploded Helix ship. Humans were the species that would do anything to protect their own. They were the species that turned their primitive weapons into tools of destruction that could challenge even the most advanced technology. Earth stood at a crossroads. They could try to return to their quiet existence, or they could accept their new role as the galaxy's unexpected apex predator. The choice would determine not just humanity's future, but the future of every species in the galaxy that was looking to Earth. For protection, or fearing what humans might do next, the alien SOS had been desperate, but Earth's response had been deadly. Now the entire galaxy was waiting to see what humanity would do with the power they had claimed through their willingness to fight impossible battles and win.